Over 2,000 years ago, a young man from the small kingdom of Macedonia set out to change the course of history. Known to the ages as Alexander the Great, Alexander III of Macedon carved out one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, spanning from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. His extraordinary achievements earned him a place among history's most celebrated leaders and most complex figures. But how did Alexander ascend to such power, and what drove his relentless ambition to unite East and West? To Pella, the Macedonian capital, showing the royal palace and a young Alexander, born in 356 BCE in Pella, Alexander was the son of King Philip II, a brilliant and ambitious ruler, and Queen Olympias, who came from the royal family of Epirus. Philip was known for his military skills and strategic mind, while Olympias was passionate and fiercely devoted to her son's destiny. Cut to Aristotle teaching young Alexander in a library-like setting, ancient scrolls on a table. At age 13, Alexander's education was entrusted to one of Greece's greatest philosophers, Aristotle. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander studied philosophy, science, ethics, and the classics. He read Homer's Iliad and grew inspired by the tales of heroism, seeing himself as a modern-day Achilles. Aristotle's teachings instilled in him a love of knowledge, a fascination with other cultures, and a curiosity that would fuel his campaigns. Of Philip training his army, showing Macedonian soldiers with long spears, Alexander observing in awe. Meanwhile, Alexander's father, King Philip II, was transforming Macedonia into a powerful military state. He modernized the Macedonian army, equipping his soldiers with long spears called sarissas, and creating disciplined units capable of coordinated maneuvers. Philip's military successes extended Macedonia's influence and established the Corinthian League, a coalition of Greek city-states with Philip at the helm. Through his father's example, Alexander learned that a great empire could be forged through both diplomacy and force. Of Philip's assassination, Alexander reacts with a mix of shock and determination. In 336 BCE, just as Philip was preparing to lead his forces into Persia, tragedy struck. Philip was assassinated at his daughter's wedding, leaving Macedonia in turmoil. At just 20 years old, Alexander ascended to the throne. Some believed he and his mother Olympias may have played a role in Philip's death to secure Alexander's rule, although no evidence confirms this. What is certain is that Alexander acted swiftly to consolidate power. He eliminated rivals, reasserted control over rebellious territories, and was confirmed as the leader of the Corinthian League. Of Alexander rallying troops, dramatic music rising as they prepare to cross into Asia. With Greece under control, Alexander set his sights on Persia. Persia was the wealthiest and most powerful empire of the ancient world, and its conquest had been Philip's ambition before his untimely death. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor with an army of approximately 35,000 soldiers, thus beginning his legendary campaign. Of the Battle of the Granicus, showing Alexander leading the charge with fierce determination. Alexander's first significant challenge came at the Granicus River, where Persian forces attempted to halt his advance. Alexander's victory at the Battle of the Granicus showcased his tactical genius and fearless leadership. Charging headfirst into the fray, Alexander personally fought on the front lines, endearing him to his troops and establishing his reputation as a bold, almost reckless leader. Cut to Alexander encountering the Persian king Darius at Issus, with armies clashing. In 333 BCE, Alexander met Darius III of Persia in a decisive clash at Issus. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander's military tactics and his ability to adapt to the terrain led to a resounding victory. Darius fled the battlefield, abandoning his family and treasures, an act that damaged his credibility. Alexander, on the other hand, treated Darius's family with respect, further enhancing his reputation as a noble conqueror. Of Alexander marching through Egypt, welcomed by the locals as a liberator. After Issus, Alexander advanced south, Entering Egypt in 332 BCE, Egypt, long under Persian rule, saw Alexander as a liberator and welcomed him without resistance. While in Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria, which would become one of the greatest centers of learning and culture in the ancient world. During his stay, Alexander visited the Oracle of Amun at Siwa Oasis, where he was declared the son of Zeus Ammon, the supreme god. This proclamation deepened Alexander's belief in his divine mission and set him on a course to rule not only as a king, but as a god among men. Of the Battle of Gaugamela, intense battle sequences, with Alexander charging at Darius, but the Persian Empire would not fall so easily. In 331 BCE, Alexander faced Darius for a final time at the Battle of Gaugamela. The Persian king had amassed a vast army, hoping to crush Alexander once and for all. However, Alexander's brilliant tactics and his use of the Macedonian phalanx enabled him to achieve a decisive victory. Darius fled, only to be betrayed and killed by his own generals. With Darius's death, Alexander claimed the title of King of Asia and officially brought the Persian Empire to an end. Of Alexander taking Babylon, then traveling through Persia, adopting local customs and clothing. As Alexander moved through Persia, he encountered advanced cultures and sought to blend Greek and Persian customs. He wore Persian robes, appointed Persian satraps, governors, to maintain local governance, and encouraged his officers to marry Persian noblewomen, thus forging bonds between Greeks and Persians. This policy, known as fusion of cultures, was radical and unpopular among many Macedonians, but it revealed Alexander's vision of a united empire, of Alexander marrying Roxana in a ceremonial setting. In Bactria, Alexander married Roxana, a local princess, symbolizing his commitment to bridging East and West. Although his generals and soldiers often resisted these changes, Alexander remained determined to create a world where diverse cultures and traditions coexisted. Transition to Alexander's Indian campaign, with scenes of treacherous mountain terrain and Indian forces. In 326 BCE, Alexander's journey led him into India, where he faced his most challenging campaign. The Indian subcontinent was a land of dense jungles, unfamiliar climates, and powerful local rulers. At the Battle of Hydaspes, Alexander faced King Porus, a fierce opponent who brought elephants to the battlefield. Alexander emerged victorious, but the battle took a heavy toll on his men, and his forces began to grow weary, of Alexander's troops expressing fatigue and desire to return home. After years of continuous campaigning, Alexander's men longed to return to Macedonia. When they reached the Hyphasis River, they refused to march further. Recognizing their exhaustion, Alexander reluctantly agreed to turn back, marking the easternmost point of his empire. Of Alexander returning to Babylon, celebrations and plans for future campaigns. Upon his return to Babylon, Alexander set about consolidating his empire. He established new cities, implemented administrative reforms, and planned further campaigns, including an expedition to Arabia. However, in 323 BCE, just as he was preparing for new conquests, Alexander fell gravely ill. Some accounts suggest he may have been poisoned, while others believe he succumbed to a fever, possibly malaria or typhoid. After days of suffering, Alexander the Great died at the age of 32, leaving his empire without a clear successor. Of Alexander's generals dividing the empire, tensions and battles brewing. Alexander's death plunged his empire into chaos. His generals, known as the Diadochi, fought among themselves, carving up his empire into separate kingdoms. Although his dream of a united world crumbled, Alexander's influence endured. His conquests spread Greek language, art, and culture across the known world, sparking the Hellenistic Age, a period of cultural fusion that would shape the course of history. Of the Library of Alexandria, Greek philosophers, and bustling Hellenistic cities. The cities he founded, particularly Alexandria in Egypt, became hubs of knowledge and cultural exchange, attracting scholars, scientists, and artists from all over. The blend of Greek and Eastern traditions led to advances in science, philosophy, medicine, and art, creating a legacy that would influence civilizations for centuries. Enjoyed the video? Show some love by liking, subscribing, and tapping the bell icon for more amazing content.